is where MAGA comes to talk. Tomorrow is a historic day that one day will be an official holiday and will be on calendars, okay? Tomorrow, the 16th of June, will be 10 years since Trump came down the escalator. It's amazing. So we've had 10 years of MAGA here. And, you know, what Trump has done in the last 10 years, think about it. Donald Trump, for the last 10 years, it'll be 10 years tomorrow, has 100% dominated the news cycle every day and the political agenda every day, even the 4 years that he wasn't in office. It's amazing. I don't think we've ever had that. And, you know, having the 2 non-consecutive terms adds, you know, the more years to it. It's amazing. It really is amazing. And he's changed everything. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. This is most definitely where MAGA comes to talk. You know, we've had presidents, you know, that have been big and important and everything, but when they're gone out of office, they're not players anymore, right? Especially a one-termer. So when Trump had this 4-year, well, I get nonstop, you know, harassment with all the lawfare and assassination attempts and all that stuff. You look at past presidents, even the 2-term presidents, once they're out of office, who cares about them anymore, right? Who cares about them anymore? And I remember, and some of you may have been there, the first President's Day after Trump left the White House, after his first term, I went up to Mar-a-Lago. There were like 100,000 people that drove up there just to support him on President's Day after he left the White House after his first term. Remember that? And Don Jr. came out the gates of Mar-a-Lago and was like blown away by it. You know, I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. And, you know, you look at Obama. Who cares about Obama anymore? His own wife doesn't even care about him. George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, right? No one cares about any of them anymore. And that's been true with all the past presidents except Trump. It's a whole new thing. It really is something that's never really been experienced in this country before. And I know they'll say this president this, that president that. No, in their own lifetime, I don't think so. No. You know, even John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy is put on this pedestal because, you know, he was assassinated by the deep state, right? If he would have lived and even gotten his second term, he would have faded away too, just like the rest. That's just how it is. They kept Nixon around a little bit longer because of the, oh shoot, I just forgot the name. Do you remember the name, Kathy, the English guy that did the interview? Who did the English guy?
David Frost.
David Frost. The David Frost interview kept Nixon out there a little bit longer. But even Reagan, after he was out of office, that was it. And here you have President Trump, because this is, you know, I talk about this a lot with President Trump, and I think you got, if you're MAGA, you'll agree with this. If you're not MAGA, this won't make sense to you right now, but if you think about it, it will. I would say that President Trump's a civil rights leader, leading the largest group ever in this country, more so than even Martin Luther King, because he's leading everyone to freedom from the tyranny and oppression of the permanent Washington class, right? And it's just a movement that people that are not MAGA will never get. That's right, yeah, and it's amazing. But I will most definitely be celebrating tomorrow, and you know, maybe tomorrow. There's a lot to talk about in the news tomorrow morning on the live stream. I'm going to cover a lot, and then I'm, you know, whatever happens between now and then too. But maybe I'll ask people to call in tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 10th anniversary of Trump coming down the escalator, and maybe I could have you guys call in and tell me where you were when Trump came down. I remember I remember exactly where I was. Kathy and I were we had the TV on. We were in our bedroom. I'd gotten home from the radio studio, and we were doing some work in our bedroom. And we had it on the TV. You know? Yep, tomorrow. 10 years. Since Trump came down the escalator, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. A big, big deal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, there's a story in the news I want to, today, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow for sure, but I want to talk a little bit about it now because it's been in the news all afternoon, and I haven't heard anybody really put it in context. Have you seen this story? It says that President Trump intervened and told Netanyahu that they couldn't take out the supreme leader of Iran, the Ayatollah. Okay. And what's going on there? Now, a couple things. Trump said they're still negotiating with the Iranians. They're still negotiating. They won't make a deal. Which, if they don't make a deal with the United States right now, and there's negotiations going on, they're certainly insane. I mean, you know, because if they would make a deal, Trump could flip a switch and stop the war, right? So they're completely insane. But this thing about all these news stories, and the first person I heard say it was Ducey, but I don't know if Ducey broke the story, but he was the first person I heard say it, and it's all over the place, you know. And it's that he told Netanyahu couldn't do it, couldn't take out the supreme leader. So what's that about? It is against U.S. law for the United States to target or assassinate a foreign head of state. Totally 100% illegal. It's a big deal. So if you notice, President Trump has not defied any of these criminal federal judges, right? He's gone along with them, you know. He's not giving any hope to these idiots on the left that they could get him impeached or removed from office on anything legit. So it is a big deal. The United States cannot assassinate a foreign head of state. In fact, it was a really big deal when Bill Clinton used that as a cowardly way out. Bill Clinton, there were two opportunities. One was 100% opportunity for President Clinton to take out bin Laden. And of course, this is years before 9/11. And there was one time. There were two times. One of them, I can't remember what the situation was, but Janet Reno gave him the same crap both times. The second time, they had bin Laden in a convoy, and they were ready to take out bin Laden. It was two different instances. This last time was in this convoy. They had him, 100% would have taken out bin Laden. This is long before 9/11. Because Clinton was still president. And Janet Reno used this law to say you couldn't do it. You can't assassinate a foreign head of state. It's a big, big deal. So President Trump is just on the record that he is opposed to taking out the supreme leader and said no. That doesn't mean that Israel will not do it or that Israel cannot do it. It just means that President Trump has all that plausible deniability from it. That's right. And, you know, so that's what that is. I mean, you know, the goal of Israel, and this obviously seems to be the goal of Trump, is 100% regime change in Iraq. The only thing I don't know, really, and I don't think any of us know this for sure, okay? Did President Trump, was he in favor of Israel attacking Iran in the first place? We don't really know for sure. Maybe, maybe not. He may, you know, Netanyahu may have been like, I'm going to do it, or maybe Netanyahu just did it. It was on day 61 that Trump gave them, but we don't really know if Trump was 100% in favor of it, or if Netanyahu's just like, I'm going to do it, so Trump's, well, what am I going to do? I got to work with what I got. Who cares? Well, this could turn into a third world war. It's a big deal. Regime change did not work in Iraq. That is for sure. And I was talking about this morning on the live stream early this morning. When Operation Iraqi Freedom began at the beginning of the war, they said when we overthrow Saddam and the army and the Marines move into Baghdad, they're going to be throwing roses at our guys. You know, that's not what happened. They had the insurgency. Remember? You know, so regime change didn't work there, but it doesn't mean it hasn't. It's worked elsewhere. It's worked before, but Trump's a master juggler. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Well, Trump has very good relations with these other countries in the Middle East, including, I know he wasn't the head of state, but Janet Reno convinced Bill Clinton that bin Laden was a head of state, okay? I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Bill Clinton, what an idiot. Was an idiot, could have prevented 9/11. But Trump has such a good relationship with these other countries in the Middle East, including this former terrorist that's running Syria now. So that goes a long way. It's not a dodge. It's, just the truth. There was a book written about that with Bill Clinton, too. Somebody wrote a book about Clinton and bin Laden. I can't remember the name of the author. No, there's no legacy ruined. What are you talking about, Anthony? President Trump cannot control the actions of other countries, right? But he may, it seems that Israel is very deeply embedded in Iran. It doesn't it? I mean, it really does. So you got to wonder how many people are in the Iranian government that are Israeli spies. Sorry, guys, a little tired. No, they seem to have a good inroad in there. An imposter. I see. Well, that's how it is. Regardless that it happened, regardless of whether or not Trump signed off on it, it's happened. What are you going to do, right? You can't deal with what should have happened. It's happened. The timing, it sucks. They got to finish all this business in Ukraine with Russia before they start something else. Yeah. Now, if you're new, make sure you subscribe. Disrupting corruption, that's correct. That's absolutely correct. How many of you watched the parade last night? It was great, wasn't it? I think the World War II guys have the best uniforms, don't you? The camouflage uniforms. Definitely they have the best uniforms, I think. Can't we all just get along? Wouldn't that be nice? Disrupting the socialist invasion, yeah. No doubt about that. What was sad and embarrassing about that parade was spectacular. We're not talking about Obama and the Clintons. We are putting some things in context, but I guess your mind's not able to think beyond like a black and white kind of thing. Best parade ever. It was a pretty cool parade. It was a pretty cool parade. There was this one vehicle I didn't get. I don't remember what it was called. There was one vehicle that looked like a dune buggy. It had no doors on the side that they were driving. I'm not sure what the purpose of that vehicle is, that the military would have a vehicle with no doors like that. You know which one I'm talking about? It was pretty cool. That one was one that like you could have like yourself. We needed the parade. Well, listen, what I was talking about today is about that parade this morning is the main purpose of the parade. There were many reasons why, but I think the main purpose was to show the world that there were many reasons, but the main purpose was to show the world that the American Army is tough and badass. That the transgenders are no longer, you know what I mean? That's it. And I'll tell you, have you seen one story today about broken roads in D.C.? The liberals, the last 2 weeks, said, the roads can't handle it. It'll cause the roads to crack. It's going to be so expensive. If there was a single pothole in the District of Columbia along that parade route today, it'd be all over the news. I didn't see a single one. The soldiers seem very excited to do it. It did not cost that much. Mm-mm. It did not cost that much. They already own the vehicles, and the soldiers are on salary. Where do you get? Where do they get $45 million? Right? Where do they get that? A little gas money, maybe. Mm-hmm. It was a great parade. It was a great parade, yeah. Oh, it was great for recruiting. The other branches are going to want their parades. What was awful about it? Make sure you subscribe, guys, all right? That 45 million is just a number they made up. You know, I would even say it costs that much in gas money. These vehicles have to be run to keep them operational. Yet Losing Bin Laden, that was the book. Thank you, Barbie. You got a good memory. Did you look that up? That was the book. We had the author on the show. Steve and I interviewed the author, Losing Bin Laden. Yeah, that was a long time ago. That's the name. I can't remember the name of the writer, but Losing Bin Laden was the book. Oh, yeah, great for local business, great for the Army. They had sponsors, too, to cover some of the cost. Mm-hmm. I know, it's amazing. The liberals get all fiscally conservative, right? All of a sudden, you know, Doge finds billions of dollars that they're stealing. That's, you know, that's not a problem. But a little gas money for the parade causes a meltdown. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Exactly. Make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. It was not a waste. And it also bring back American pride, all of that the liberals have wiped out as much as they can. Doge exists, yeah. Actually, Doge was started by Obama. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's cult like. It seems to me the cult are the No Kings people. They're a small minority of enraged people. The No Kings people seem like a cult to me. I'm not trying to convince anyone. Nope. A small minority of very vocal lunatics. I was at that event yesterday. Happy birthday, Trump. That's right. Trump's approval ratings are very good, very good. Don't believe all those liberal polls. It doesn't matter what Democrats think. Small minority. Yeah, Trump just won the national election. Who's trying to be a king? 200,000 in every city? Give me a break. In your dreams. It doesn't matter what his approval rating is. He's not running again, right? You guys, he can't run again in 2028, you keep saying? What are you worried about? If this is his last term, what are you worried about approval ratings for? The approval rating only matters if he's going to run again. So you guys saying he's going to run again? That's right. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you who's got some trouble is Tim Walz. Right? This incident over the weekend, and then he had that Tesla lunatic a couple months back. He's a disaster. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. You know, they talk about a king. Kamala didn't get a single primary vote, and they gave her the nomination. She was appointed the nominee. How's that happen? Trump and JD in 2028 sounds good to me. No, he's a Democrat. So you're telling me Tim Walz is appointing MAGA people to jobs? I don't think so. No, she would be a drunken queen, Kamala Harris. Oh, Tim Walz. Yeah. Who's wrongfully deporting people? Mm-hmm. Tim Walz has some explaining to do. Yeah, coach. He needs to explain all that time he spent in the People's Republic of China. Nobody ever bothered to ask him that. There was one interview that he did with Kamala that showed how stupid they were. You know, Kamala is 5'4". She's really short. And she's tiny. And they had an interview that Kamala did with Tim Walz, and they set them next to each other at a table. They had her close to the camera, and she was on her left. She looked like a little person. It was almost like forced perspective. And that may seem like a minor thing, but it just shows how stupid and incompetent the Kamala campaign was. They could have had the cameras in a different way where it wasn't, she didn't look like, I mean, she looked like a little person. I mean, you know, Tyrion Lannister. If Kamala won, oh my goodness, could you imagine? The world would be over as we know it. Our country would have totally collapsed. They would have erased the southern border. It would have been a mess. Yeah, ventriloquist. Yeah, it was kind of like that. No gyms for me. Are you kidding? Trump 2028. Absolutely. Sounds good to me. Thank God she didn't. Oh. She would have been... Who would have been... let me ask you. Here's a question. Who would have been a worse president? Like, who would have done the most damage if they became president? Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton? Both of them had nervous breakdowns when they lost on election night and couldn't come out and concede. Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton, who would have been the biggest disaster? I think Kamala. Yeah. Hillary would have been a big do-nothing. Big do-nothing. But right now, there's so many crises going on, Kamala wouldn't be able to handle them. That would have been it. And they would have put Trump in jail. They would have put Trump in prison if Kamala won. No doubt about it. In my mind, no doubt about it. Hillary spoke good jibber jabber. Yeah. He's not a criminal. The auto pen would have continued to be in charge under Kamala. You think she'd have been running the show? Come on. She's more out of it than Biden, really, if you think about it. She's stupid and got a drinking problem. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, the auto pen presidency. No, Kamala and Hillary did not come out on election night. They sent men to concede for them. They were weak. It really just shows you that women, these two women they put up, couldn't handle the pressure. It was a great parade. $300,000 people lost their lives because of Elon Musk. Where are the bodies? You mean to tell me that Elon Musk is responsible for the death of 300,000 people and none of the news is covering that and showing it? I don't think so. Does that even make sense? It's like, you know, come on. The mainstream media would be all over covering that story. Mm-hmm. It's called, Matt, where are the bodies? Where are the bodies? I mean, that's an absurd number. How many did we lose in Vietnam? 57,000 in Vietnam. So that's like what? Over 4 Vietnams. Think about that. Over 4 Vietnams. in a couple of months. Come on. You think they'd come up with a more realistic number? Yeah, more than World War II, exactly. How many did we lose in the Second World War? I'm not sure offhand. Does anybody remember how many Americans did we lose in the Second World War? Not the whole war, just Americans. Someone's coming to the door. It's the neighbor. I gotta answer it. All right, I gotta go. The neighbors, I think they probably
Hurry up.